Today's Ask TaqMan question is, how can you detect copy number variation with digital PCR? Sounds like an ideal application for the QuantStudio 3D digital PCR system. But before I show you how, first let me give you a little bit of background. Copy number variations, commonly referred to as CNVs, can result in having either too many or too few of a particular loci. Like other types of genetic variation, some CNVs may be responsible for a substantial amount of human phenotypic variability, complex behavioral traits, and susceptibility or resistance to disease. When performing copy number variation with digital PCR, you're performing an absolute quantification of the actual locus of interest. To convert the absolute quantities to a copy number, you want to compare your target to a reference locus that has not been amplified or changed in any way. Typically, the reference will be diploid, but it doesn't have to be. It can be anything as long as the number of copies is known beforehand. For CNV determination with digital PCR, you will need two assays. One that is specific for your target locus, and the other that is specific for the normal diploid locus. When quantifying, you will take the ratio of the absolute quantities of the target locus to the absolute quantities of the reference locus. Depending on the target, a ratio of more than 1 could suggest an amplification, and a ratio of less than 1 could suggest a deletion. Sometimes your reference itself can have a copy number change, but this will alter a ratio in such a way that makes the data unclear. Especially in the case of cancer samples, it is a good idea to use two references. Let's focus on the sample preparation in more detail. To achieve an accurate copy number for your test locus, you have to consider the neighborhood in which your locus is found. If the locus is suspected to be a tandem duplication, the use of a restriction enzyme is very important. But why is this so important for digital PCR? Let's look at a scenario where we would like to measure tandem copies. If we were to proceed without the use of a restriction enzyme, the tandem copies will both occupy the same through hole of the chip, thereby giving you an underestimated copy number. However, if we use a restriction enzyme that cleaves between the tandem copies, they are then separated into smaller DNA fragments, and each of the smaller fragments can be partitioned into one through hole. This allows for the copies to be accurately measured. So, if you want to obtain an accurate copy number of your target, make sure to use a restriction enzyme. When we look at the data on the digital PCR platform, we get a read of the number of copies present, which can be converted into a graph that looks much like this. Sometimes, especially in cancer specimens, you will get copy numbers that are not ratios of whole integers. In heterogeneous samples, such as the tumor, these ratios might indicate uneven amplification of the target locus in the different cells. For example, if we look at a population of tumor cells and assume 90% are normal or diploid, and 10% of the cells have 10 copies of the test locus, the copy number would be 2.8. This data is not wrong, and it is not uncommon to find such results among heterogeneous tumor specimens. It merely shows evidence of amplification in the sample because the copy number ratio is not a whole number. If you've got real-time PCR questions, remember to just ask TaqMan on Facebook, Twitter, or at lifetechnologies.com/ask TaqMan. Thanks for watching.